I just want to welcome everyone today to this Age-Friendly Communities, a Rural Perspective webinar. My name is Carol Ching, and I am a Senior Policy Analyst with Seniors in Housing and have been the lead for the Age-Friendly Alberta Initiative. First, I'd like to just start with a few little housekeeping items. If at any time you're unable to view the video or the presentation slides, just close your browser and reconnect. We've set aside some time at the end of the presentation for some question and answers. So please feel free to submit questions at any time during the presentation. Just the only ones that will be able to see the questions are us. And if you go to the Q&A question mark on the top right of your screen and follow the prompts and then click Ask, you'll be able to ask questions and we'll address as many as we can, as much as time will allow at the end of the presentation. And our presentation will end promptly at noon. Today's presentation is being hosted by the Alberta Age-Friendly Community of Practice. And the Community of Practice was formed so that communities pursuing age-friendly can connect to share ideas, best practices, and expertise. And so it's been going on for a couple of years now. We had our first webinar last June, which was an introduction to age-friendly. We've got a number of communities that have joined on now, and they have worked together to help inform this webinar. So we're very excited to be doing this second webinar for everyone. If you want to get more information or to get involved more with the Age-Friendly Community of Practice, you can contact us at email address sh.afc@gov.ab.ca, and there'll be information on the last slide of the presentation as well about that. Following the webinar, you will receive a brief evaluation, which will also include opportunities to submit additional questions or suggestions for future webinars. So we would encourage you to fill that out and provide us your feedback on that. Today, as you can see, we're going to looking at age-friendly communities from a rural perspective. And our presenters that are joining us are Bernice, Lynn from Old Age-Friendly Community. We also have from our neighboring province, we have guest Hugh, who is a board member for Age-Friendly Rosetown, and Storey, who is their Population Health Promotion Coordinator for Age-Friendly Rosetown. In the webinar today, they'll each take about 20 minutes, and they're going to share their experience in pursuing age-friendly communities. And that's going to include some examples and information on what's working well and what positive experiences they've had, some of the challenges that they've had and how they were overcome, and what their plans are for moving forward. So I'll just check in now and just see how our things are going with our first presenter, Bernice, Lynn. Bernice, are you there?
Bernice has dropped off, and we'll just wait until she joins.
They're just trying to call back in again and try and get rid of the feedback?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just really appreciate everyone's patience as we do this. When we're doing webinars and presenters are off-site and phoning in from different places, sometimes we have some challenges with the technology, but I am confident that they will get this up and going in just a moment. So again, if folks are interested in more information about the community of practice and how it can maybe support you in information that you need and connections to help you and your community pursue age-friendly initiatives, whether it's a formal plan or just individual initiatives, we'd be happy to hear from you, and also just to hear about what you're doing in your communities. We will see if Hugh and Crystal are ready to go, and they can maybe start us off. And then when Bernice is able to join us again, we can have her do her presentation second. So Hugh and Crystal, are you able and ready to go forward?
Well, we think we are.
I think you are too. So what I'm going to do is let me just find your slides here. We'll just jump forward. If nothing else, we can improvise and be flexible. So we just want to, keep things moving. There we are. And so now everyone can see what you look like. And welcome from Chile, Saskatchewan. And just thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your experience with us here in Alberta and what it's been like for you pursuing age-friendly and how that is going for you. So I will turn things over to Hugh and to Crystal to share about Rosetown.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol. So thank you guys very much for allowing us to participate in this. We're very excited as to just the difference between Alberta and Saskatchewan as well too, because the age-friendly movement within Saskatchewan is rural-based. We don't have, like Saskatoon has a bit of a program going, but they're not designated age-friendly. But the rest of all the other communities are rural. And when we talk rural, we're talking under 5,000 people, population base. So if you want to go to our first slide. Sorry. You're multi-purposing, yeah. Okay, so you can go to the next one. So we'll get right into it. Okay, so just for the people who don't know where Rosetown is, because you know it's such a hotbed of the universe and whatnot, we think so. We are actually located approximately 100 kilometers southwest of Saskatoon. And even though it's a community of only about 2,600 people, it actually serves as a hub for the smaller surrounding communities, since we do have all the basic health and emergency services and whatnot within ours. So a lot of the smaller towns come to our community. You can continue. Next slide. So once again, we have full recreational facilities. We have a lot to offer our communities, but it comes also with, we have very aging infrastructure within our town. We also have a number of accessibility issues that come with that aging infrastructure, which is what we're dealing with a lot with our work with the age-friendly. But a plus is that we have really great people and lots of volunteers and people that are always helping us out. So next slide. We'll try to get through this boring stuff first here. So like I said, we're a hub. We have our intersection on 2 major highways. So we do have a lot of people who pass through as well too, and we want it to be friendly and accessible for them too. Doesn't matter where you're from, we want it to be an age-friendly community. We have a lot of Hutterite populations within 20 miles. We have 6 Hutterite colonies within 20 miles, but we also have a growing population of newcomers, and this isn't something some of our small towns are really set up for in support services and whatnot. So those are kind of issues that we're dealing with as well too. So next slide, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what we're doing with age-friendly. Okay, just as a preamble, I guess, is since we're from Saskatchewan and our system for age-friendly is considerably different than it's run in Alberta, ours is headed up through the Saskatchewan Seniors Mechanism, and that is actually a nonprofit volunteer organization, and they have a couple of paid positions, but most of it is volunteer. And they serve to help support the the committees and the communities, but they do it, a lot of them do it on a volunteer basis. So what the Saskatchewan Seniors Mechanism is actually an umbrella organization for various senior focused groups that they were all saying, okay, we're all working towards the same goals, we don't have a lot of resources, let's work together. And so this is what was created out of that. And they all work towards quality of life for all Saskatchewan older residents. As of now, they do not receive, and neither do the committees, receive any provincial funding for any age-friendly work. They do get some funding for other programs, but not the age-friendly one, and those are just through grants. So I'll turn it over to Hugh, because he was our driving force, and he's the one who got it started in our community.
Well, basically, where the idea came from at the town council members were attending the SUMA convention in Regina, And on 2 separate years, there was a session on age-friendly hosted by Saskatchewan Seniors Mechanism as well as age-friendly Manitoba. And age-friendly Manitoba is a little ways ahead of all of us. And so when the ideas came back here, a group was formed in 2015, and we were recognized in 2016 by the town of Rosetown. And from there, we've just kind of continued to progress.
And just a little information on what our committee members look like, or what we have members who represent who are seniors. We have people also for the business section, health, which is where I work for. Also, we have young mothers and people living with different accessibility issues. Okay, so where do we start? So we needed to know what was going on in our community. You know, we're pretty active, our committee members in our community. We kind of knew what was going on, but we didn't know specifics on what people were looking for, and it would have just been us guessing. So we did access a number of existing data sources, some walkability studies that were very useful, some needs assessments that community groups that shared with us, but we needed that specific information too for the age-friendly particulars. So we conducted a survey in the fall of 2016, and you know, we got really good uptake on it. We left them in businesses that people accessed. We emailed them. We took them personally to senior housing complexes within our community. We had our business member, committee member, who did it if people were coming into her business, and she would sit at her desk and fill out the forms with individuals who needed some help. So just trying to find different ways of trying to make it easy for people. The big important thing that we thought was, as the picture in our slides kind of denotes, is that people are sick of doing surveys. So we wanted to make it a really strong issue, or a strong priority of ours, that if they're going to take the time to fill out a survey, it was not just going to be another black hole. The information was going to be shared with them as to what we found, as well as we keep them up to date on what we're doing all the time, so that it also encourages some future engagement with the people of our community, and it also gives a little bit of more of a buy-in for what we're doing. So, next slide. Thank you. So these were the main things that came out of our survey, and so walkabilities, we'll touch on all of these as we go through. We also had one that's not on there, is that a request for, we needed more public washrooms in our downtown area especially, but I missed that on the slide. And I just wanted to point out too, that lovely picture you're seeing is our walking trail that goes around our community. So a lot of work has been done, not by us, but we want to give a push, or highlight for the people who work so hard on that. So next slide, and we'll get into the particulars of this. Okay, so in regards to the outdoor spaces and buildings piece of it, a big thing that had come up was our sidewalk safety. Rosetown is built on clay, and our ground shifts horribly. And so we're constantly having cracks in our sidewalks and our houses and you name it. So that was a big thing that came, because you never knew from day to day where that crack was going to surface. It might have been fine yesterday, the next day when you're out walking, not so much. So that was a big common denominator of all the surveys. So the first step we took was we needed a really good relationship with the town of Rosetown, because you can't just go into the town office and say, hey, this is really bad, you need to do something, and it's all your responsibility, and we're just going to walk away and you do it. So we've gotten a really good rapport with our town office workers and the council and whatnot, and we prefaced it a bit with, the town had brought in sidewalk shaving program, but they just did the downtown area. And so people thought it was a great program, and kudos to you guys for doing it. Is there any way we can have it extended? So the town of Rosetown actually very graciously purchased their own equipment, and so now their staff goes out whenever there's some horrible cracks, whenever they have time to go and do these. So it's an ongoing, continuous thing so that we try to keep up on that. The input from the residents has been very useful too. Of course, everybody's going to point out every crack they can find. And so for those kind of things, we need to be a little bit aware of and find a balance between a community being engaged and having a part in this and whatnot, but also what the capacity for the town can do. So there is that little balance as to what the balance between capacity and want. So next slide.
Lighting and lack of proper lighting was another item that came in on the survey. We have been in contact with the town of Rosetown, who hasn't been in contact with SAS Power. SAS Power has indicated that all these lights will be changed. We just haven't got any time frame on it. So we continue to exert pressure on the town to push SAS Power to move to LED lighting to kind of brighten up some of the walkways in town.
Okay, next slide. See, now we have a lovely picture of Hugh modeling one of our benches from our bench program. So another big thing that came up is a lot of our senior housing actually are not within easy walking distance from the downtown area for their everyday shopping, the post office, and whatnot. And so a big thing that came up is like we would walk more, but we would like some places that we can stop and rest. And so we came up with the bench program. The first thing that we did is we approached our buddies there with the town, since we have such a good relationship with them, and we're granted the ability to become a committee of council. And that has really served us well, because what the bench program is, community members, organizations, businesses can purchase benches that are placed throughout the town wherever they have see a need or where they choose. They pay actually $1,000 for the benches. $900 of it goes to the local people who actually make the benches and do the etching and whatnot. And then it's also a good fundraiser, because then $100 goes to us. However, when people are purchasing the benches, since we're a committee of council, they're able to get a tax receipt for that, which is also a drawing point for that. Just as a little antidote there, the bench that Hugh is sitting on in that picture, that was purchased by a brother of a woman who was a longtime resident who has passed away. And he had that placed because she would walk downtown every day, and that was halfway between her house and the downtown area. So it, kind of gets people more involved in that way as well too. So next slide.
Okay, in dealing with affordable housing, a few years ago, the provincial government made a little bit of a change. They were trying to satisfy the call for more low-cost housing. And what they did is they changed the rules for people who were presently in low-cost housing. And that affected seniors in particular. All of a sudden, they lowered the threshold for having income as well as money in savings accounts and so on, which was suddenly making some of this housing unaffordable. Many communities, including the town of Rosetown and our age-friendly committee, wrote letters to the government and to our local MLA protesting the changes, and in time the government has backed off, not quite to where they once were, but has backed off quite a ways, which has now allowed this housing to be more accessible again.
Okay, next slide. Thank you. Okay, so of course accessibility is always an issue, and we've already spoke about how our sidewalks are an issue and what we're trying to do to combat that. Another one was one of our committee members works in the therapy departments at the health center here, and she reported that a disproportionate number of the people that they were seeing as clients were coming in because the doors at the post office were too heavy. People coming in with walkers, they couldn't open the door, they would get knocked over, it would knock into their arms, they would be causing injuries. So we contacted Canada Post, and with some dialogue back and forth with them, as they actually in the fall of 2017 installed automated doors for us within our post office. Because I don't know about you guys, but within our rural community, the post office is a daily visit for most of our seniors who live in the community. So that was seen as a very important part. The other part is that with our sports grounds, a number of our seniors have reported that they love baseball. They would love to go and see their grandkids play, but they can't go because the bleachers at the sports grounds did not have railings on it, and it was not easy for them to even attend games just for that simple fact. So we did, have a conversation and once again with the town of Rosetown, and they have started the process of adding handrails onto all of the bleachers out in the sports ground. So if you want to go to the next slide.
I'd just like to mention one more thing on the accessibility. The post office doors certainly serve seniors well, but they also serve young mums that have got strollers and things of that nature. So, or anybody else that has a bit of a disability. So often the things that help and work for seniors also help other age groups as well. And on the social connections, what I'm going to just tell you is a few of the things that we have done as Age Friendly. One of the goals of Age Friendly is to increase the connection of seniors with the rest of the community. And this often means helping to sponsor events. And our group is small, so we have combined with the Rosetown Lions Club on a few activities. And I'll just list those activities to you. One of them is a Christmas greeting board that will appear in front of our post office. Pardon me?
Next slide.
Yeah.
Yep, thank you.
Sorry. Will appear at the post office, and what it contains is 196 names. People for $10 can put their name up there, and it's part of the Christmas promotion downtown. And it will raise some funds for both us and the Lions Club. A second one is a country Christmas music show that we did last year as well, and we're going to do again, and you can see a picture of the poster on this slide. And one of the little things we do, it's not necessarily for seniors, but we do offer free rides to and from the show for seniors. A third item that we're combining on is working on having a barbecue on November 22nd. It's the night that the town businesses have kind of a kickoff to the Christmas season. And so we're doing just a little bit of a thank you to the businesses. The products are all supplied. We will be having a barbecue and so on, and a silver collection with all the proceeds of that going to Santa's hut. So again, a connection between seniors and the children. We also did a barbecue of our own downtown last summer, complete with entertainment for a bit of fundraising. And so, yeah, those are some of the things that we've done.
Some of the offshoots on that as well too, when we've done the barbecue downtown with the shopping night with the downtown business, is that we approached the credit union, and they also opened up their business for the evening so that there'd be a warm place for people to stop and sit. So, okay, next slide. One of the other things we do is we try to do some recognition for the seniors and thanks for what they've done and contributed to our community. So we've done for the last 3 years Toast to Seniors, which we've done in partnership with the health center, and basically that is that we provide free breakfast for them. And so just to say thank you for all you've done, and some socialization as well too. So it's been growing every year. We cook a lot of eggs, my type. We also we have a harvest festival every year, and we have started working with the museum, the local museum, as to have king and queens, as well as prince and princesses so that we have a connection with the younger kids as well as our older adults. Okay, next one. I know we're running out of time, so we're trying to talk a little faster.
Okay.
So, fundraising. That's you, Hugh.
Okay, well, I'll get back quickly. I guess I kind of got ahead of myself a bit, but our country Christmas music show is one of them. The bench program, as Crystal mentioned, does bring us a little bit of funds. The Christmas greeting board will bring us funds. And you might ask, what do you need the funds for? Crystal did mention the seniors breakfast, and we do supply all the items for that. We recently donated $500 to the senior centers here to upgrade some of their electrical. And as time goes on, we'll find other items that are there. And you do need to have a little bit of money, because when things do come along, you want to be able to help out. And so that's one of the places we're at.
Yeah. So some of the things we may be using some money for in the future, some of our future plans are to try to get some kind of a guide for seniors, resources and contact information, so it's a little bit easier for them to find. Also exploring some opportunities with the business community as well as youth connections, and like you said, continuing with supporting the senior center. So next slide. We're getting to the end. We're getting closer. Okay, so how do we keep our residents informed, which is something that we've always said is a priority. So we do use our barbecue that we do every summer, and that's what the picture is there. And as you can see, there's a lady playing a guitar in the background. So we always provide music, and it brings us a cheap entertainment for seniors to come out, have some food, have some camaraderie, and listen to some entertainment. And the last 2 years, we've run out of food. And we keep running to the store to get some, but they keep showing up, so it's getting bigger and bigger every day, or every year. Also, we do twice a year in July and in December, we do newsletters that we create, and so that we take them right to the senior housings. We have them posted there. We take them they're posted up all over town. We've emailed them to our contacts. The media is very good about getting that information out as well too. So we're trying to find every way that we can get it out there. We also, as Hugh had said, we've connected with some other groups, say the Lions Clubs and whatnot, that, everybody's struggling a little bit for manpower, so we try to work together as much, and so that it gets it out there quicker as we get more and more people knowing about us. They spread it out as well. We also have info sheets that we do up with just age-friendly, as well as the bench program and any of the projects that we're doing. These are available through the Chambers of Commerce. They've gone to Lunch and Learns. They've been used. We just try to get them out wherever we can. We've also used some social media with Facebook, because some people prefer it that way. And also we have a site or a page on the town website as part of being a committee of council. We're able to do that. And we're actually finding we're our own best ambassadors, but over time, a lot of the residents, in particular the seniors, are spreading the message for us, because they're feeling an impact, so they're spreading it to their friends and families as well. So next slide. So Saskatchewan actually just started in 2008, so December of 2008. It's our first year that Saskatchewan government has recognized communities as age-friendly. And we're very proud of the fact that after just 2 years of being in existence, we actually met the criteria, and we are now considered an age-friendly community, or a community officially. So that's a picture of us with the 2 other communities that were set up with Honorable Greg Ottenbreit. At that time, he was our Minister of Rural and Remote Health. So, but we're not done yet. We've still got lots more to go, and we're very excited, and I think we're just as enthusiastic as when we started. So, final slide is we look at it as age-friendly. It's just not a committee. It's part of our culture. It has to become a part of our culture for it to succeed and be sustainable. And just some little things that we've learned along the way to make it sustainable is we need to keep things simple. You don't need to have huge projects right off the bat. We thought it was more important to have some quick successes so that you have some public celebrations and notice of what you're doing. And you don't have to be spending a heck of a lot of money. Sometimes it's just a matter of asking people what they want and what they need, and then working from there. So, and just as a final thing, everybody is welcome to come to Rosetown or to contact us. We're more than happy to, talk about our community. We're so proud of it. And so we don't have our emails on that slide, but I don't know if Carol, if anybody's interested, if they can get them from you.
Yes, and we do have on the very last slide, I believe, some information. Whoops. And so we'll get that, and if people want to make connection, we can certainly facilitate that.
Okay, thank you. So I think we went over our time a little bit, so I apologize for that, but we just love this so much.
It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much. That was a fantastic presentation, and really appreciate you sharing a bit about your experience, your uniqueness there in Rosetown, your newcomers, the diversity within your community, and some of the little nuggets that I pulled out is just, how you went to others to find some data that they could maybe share with you on some things that they'd already been doing to help inform how you move forward, and that little bit of balancing between community engagement and the capacity of the community in doing that sort of a dance, and how important the relationship with the town is, and also the other partnerships that you've formed with the Lions and the health centers and with intergenerational aspects. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us, and we're excited to hear more as you guys move forward, and hopefully we'll just stay connected.
Okay, thank you again for this opportunity.
Thanks. So Hugh and Crystal, we're just kind of wondering, you were saying that there's a lot to that you can do that are sort of quick wins that don't maybe take a lot of money up front, but also just kind of wondering, there was a question of what initiatives linked to the age-friendly domains were already in place in your community prior to the age-friendly work? What types of things are already there when you started?
You're not muted.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
Okay.
You're just thinking.
Sorry. So I think, just to reiterate, it's are just the people that are in place, that are the, in small towns, you sometimes know who those people are to go to or who to reach out to, so that's good. But some of the things that had already been in place is that there's already like the walking trail, and that walking trail committee was very good about, like you saw in the picture, there was a bench, there was some lighting there. So they already had that vision as to, if we're going to make this easy for them to walk. The town of Rosetown actually maintains that. They're out there all the time. And so it's very rarely you'll go out there where you can't get through because of snow and whatnot. So, I mean, there was already that attitude as we want to keep our people out there and using.
Well, I think we've got lots of different clubs and organizations that are involved, and so we were just able to kind of tap into what some of them were already doing in a way.
So we kind of organized them a little bit, and like it made it a little bit more unified.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Bernice from Old Age Friendly Community.
And hello, everyone. And so I would like to start with slide 5, please. This is a picture of downtown Olds, or uptown Olds. And you'll notice on the slide, it says something about design for the old and include everyone. And this is referring again to what was mentioned in the previous presentation. It came from the World Health Organization. We found it as we were starting up our committee. And it's designed for the young, you exclude the old, design for the old, and you include everyone. The next slide, please. So the benefits of being in a rural community, anyone who lives in a rural community understands what a lot of the benefits are. In our case, certainly having very easy access to our town council and their members, our town employees, and that's been very useful in being able to get our resolution passed and endorsement for proceeding with being designated as an age-friendly community, which we are still working towards. Next slide, please. Oh, you can see the Olds Institute is listed on there. We are sponsored by the Olds Institute. It is essentially not-for-profit, independent community and economic development organization. And I've asked the executive director to make sure that I don't tell lies, so hopefully I got that right. Next slide, please. Here you can see Erica, who is our go-to getter person, chair of our committee. It was decided by another committee that the issue of aging that was identified in a survey as being significant in our community, that we needed to focus right on aging and the issues, because they're certainly flourishing in Olds and in Alberta. So because of that, and after having our resolution and building an age-friendly community passed in 2012, we started doing a survey. And I think, if we can go to the next slide, we found quite a few people who were interested, and that's because people knew people, and they all wanted to work together for this issue. We do have probably half of our committee are actually seniors, although some of us try to deny it. The next slide, please. So we decided that for our community, the most efficient way to get a fairly good response would be to personally take surveys out to the various places where we thought we would find seniors. Not to think that these are the only places they go to, or maybe the only coffee shops they go to, but these are certainly many of them. And we did have 210 responses, which was considered to be quite substantial. The next slide, please. Now, the next 8 slides are what are the elements that we have to examine in order to be recognized as an age-friendly community. And we use the tools that we receive from the Alberta government and on forming age-friendly communities. There are 8 slides, obviously. I'm not going to speak about each one of them, but I'll tell you, generally speaking, what we found was that in every one of the 8 elements, we did have parts of it. And in every one of the 8 elements, we were missing parts of it. And the feedback we got from the survey certainly did help us focus on that. The next slide, please. Transportation for us, we are located an hour north of Calgary, an hour south of Red Deer, our 2 main cities near us. And so we have an issue with transportation in our community. We have just over 9,000 people. It covers a fairly large area now. The community is spread out, and there's no bus system. And some of our seniors can't afford the taxi fees, even to go to their medical appointments in town. So there's a local issue with transportation. And then there is the issue for getting 2 medical appointments in Calgary and in Red Deer. We have a focus group that's going to examine that issue, partnering with the town of Olds. One of our major successes in this area, when we were talking about how do you make people understand, rather than just sending a report, understand what some of the issues are. We have a significant highway that drives right through the middle of our town, and the seniors have been very afraid crossing the intersection, as has other members. We have a large community of people with various disabilities because we have a lot of services in our community for them. So making it a visual challenge we thought would be good, so we decided on a wheelchair challenge to cross all the intersections. We included a young mom with toddlers using a baby carriage, citizens that are in a wheelchair and or using walkers, and others who'd never had that issue. We combined with the town of Olds staff some counselors, and it was a huge success and much more effective than a written report. Coincidentally, our town met with the Alberta Transportation Department shortly afterwards, and we did get a new light installed along the highway. So at least some people, and there's better coordination with all the lights in that street, so people are feeling a little bit safer, and that was successful. Next slide, please. Housing was identified as being a major issue, and a lot of seniors identified affordable, attainable, and senior-friendly as being really needed. Since we have over 4% of our population are aged 85 and more, this is a significant issue. So we were approached by community people to try to help with housing issues. One of our other committees was that we're associated with. And so we did meet with our town managers and with the Municipal Development Committee and team to at least come up with a common definition of what is actually affordable, because everyone uses it and it's not actually really affordable to a whole lot of people. So we are using the complete CMHA, the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Association's definition of affordable housing, and we think that's a bonus. Because there's so many issues around this, one of our major committees is actually going to be looking with a group of interested, concerned citizens at this issue in the future. Next slide, please. Now I'll go fast. So this slide is on social participation, and what our issue is trying to identify people that get lost in our community. It can happen when you have over 9,000 people. And also, once we do identify them, what can we do to assist them, and how much should we do, and some of those issues. Many of the respondents to our survey identified their churches as being really important to them to assist in this area. Next slide, please. While seniors generally feel that nobody is rude, they do feel the effects of ageism. And the community of practice that Carol mentioned initially, it has been looking at this issue, and I believe is going to have a report that could be used throughout the province to address ageism so people understand what it actually could include. One of the big problems with this is that seniors also buy into the issue of ageism and don't realize the effects. Along with that, in every one of our elements I may have mentioned, I'm not sure, communication and information about programs, about who can help you, how to access information, to find out even what's going on in town was an issue. This is in spite of the fact that we have a radio station and we have a weekly newspaper. Because of this and the importance of communication and information to seniors, we are going to have a focus group with a facilitator to discuss both the last two issues, social participation, respect and inclusion, and communication and information. We're hoping to get a lot of good help with that. Next slide, please. We are going to be surveying businesses to see what they feel and to educate them on what seniors need and expect when they go to their places of employment. 2 slides now, please. I think we've done number 7. The next one, 17. This one again is on information. And then so I've talked about that. The next slide, the last one for obtaining our designation is supports and health. We do have 2 clinics. We have physicians. We have a lot of physicians, but many of them work part-time. And we have an active hospital with a 24-hour emergency services. So a lot of people feel that we are covered, but there were concerns that it is difficult to get a family doctor and is a long wait to be able to see that family doctor as well. Just let me know how I'm doing, Carol.
You've got about another, we'll give you another 4 or 5 minutes, Bernice.
Okay, thank you. So we needed to do some activities to help people know what the potential is with aging-friendly communities. One of the very first workshops we did offer was recognizing senior abuse, which was a program that Alberta Seniors and Housing actually had and presented. We were able to offer mental health first aid for seniors. That is offered by the Mental Health Commission of Canada. And at the time we got it, it was free. And we were able to offer it to a lot of caregivers who look after seniors in various long-term care facilities. Next slide, please. So we, a year after we finished the survey in 2018, we reported our results to both the Olds Institute, our sponsoring group, and to the town of Olds. We have had amazing, excellent coverage from the media. They have every one of those 8 elements. We have done a write-up about that's been in the paper. They took part in our wheelchair challenge, and the radio has covered every event that we've had. So we've been very fortunate that way. We have attended the annual breakfast at the Senior Center, the Evergreen Center here, that the town of Olds provides every June. Next slide. And I guess that one of the advantages has been that we've become recognized in the community. We have been asked to do presentations to various groups. The last one we were asked to was at starting the communication when talking about suicide. And we were asked to have our table there with information about seniors and also to do a 5-minute talk about seniors and suicide. So the next steps are, we have already done the survey and communicated the results. Now we need to finish off, and I think I've mentioned the areas that we think we need to finish off. And so we need to do a couple more focus groups and another survey, and we might find more things to do from that. I'm expecting. Next slide, please. So there's been so many opportunities for us. We knew that we had to educate ourselves because although many of us, like half maybe, are seniors, and we actually don't know that much about seniors, and one of the answers to people who refused to actually complete our surveys was that I'm not that old and I don't need any services, or my son looks after all that stuff. So there is a lot of learning we had to do, and have been fortunate to attend webinars. There were national webinars that we heard about. We have, as well as the community of learning, the community of practice, Grey Matters conferences that have been held in Alberta, and we've had someone able to attend for them in the last 4 years. We have attended conferences and workshops that we have been invited to, and we've certainly met with a lot of professional people. So thank you very much, and that would be what I've got written so far.
Well, thank you so much, Bernice, and thank you for not giving up and leaving us. We really appreciate you hanging in there and being able to provide all that information in the time here. So just again, just the ingenuity of using things like the wheelchair challenge to show people, not just on paper, but to, like you say, give them a real perspective of what some of the challenges are, how important communication is and how you're going about addressing that. And again, similar to the Rosetown presentation, the importance of media and how that can help to get recognition for the initiatives that you're doing, which also helps to get buy-in and other partners to the table. So it's just a really good testament to the hard work that you guys are doing in the communities to raise awareness of the needs of the aging population and your seniors and your young parents with strollers and different needs, and bringing the people together to do that. And so thank you so much for your presentations today. We are going to be closing out here right away, and I apologize that we won't have time to delve into any more questions right now. We do have a couple of questions, and I will follow up with Rosetown with regards to the age-friendly designation there, and also some other questions around challenges related to distance in rural communities, and we'll find a way to get that information out to folks who are on the webinar. If you, go to the very end before we get cut off here. If folks have any other questions, they can contact us at the email address, which is the hs.afc@gov.ab.ca. And again, we look forward to your responses to the evaluation, which will be coming out, and you can provide us some feedback. And that is it for us today. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really appreciate it. We hope the information was useful. And we look forward to connecting with you again with regards to age-friendly communities. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to welcome everyone today to this Age-Friendly Communities, a Rural Perspective webinar. My name is Carol Ching, and I am a Senior Policy Analyst with Seniors in Housing and have been the lead for the Age-Friendly Alberta Initiative. First, I'd like to just start with a few little housekeeping items. If at any time you're unable to view the video or the presentation slides, just close your browser and reconnect. We've set aside some time at the end of the presentation for some question and answers. So please feel free to submit questions at any time during the presentation. Just the only ones that will be able to see the questions are us. And if you go to the Q&A question mark on the top right of your screen and follow the prompts and then click Ask, you'll be able to ask questions, and we'll address as many as we can, as much as time will allow at the end of the presentation. And our presentation will end promptly at noon. Today's presentation is being hosted by the Alberta Age-Friendly Community of Practice. And the Community of Practice was formed so that communities pursuing age-friendly can connect to share ideas, best practices, and expertise. And so it's been going on for a couple of years now. We had our first webinar last June, which was an introduction to age-friendly. We've got a number of communities that have joined on now, and they have worked together to help inform this webinar. So we're very excited to be doing this second webinar for everyone. If you want to get more information or to get involved more with the Age-Friendly Community of Practice, you can contact us at email address sh.afc@gov.ab.ca, and there'll be information on the last slide of the presentation as well about that. Following the webinar, you will receive a brief evaluation, which will also include opportunities to submit additional questions or suggestions for future webinars. So we would encourage you to fill that out and provide us your feedback on that. Today, as you can see, we're going to looking at age-friendly communities from a rural perspective. And our presenters that are joining us are Bernice, Lynn from Old Age-Friendly Community. We also have from our neighboring province, we have guest Hugh, who is a board member for Age-Friendly Rosetown, and Crystal Storey, who is their Population Health Promotion Coordinator for Age-Friendly Rosetown. In the webinar today, they'll each take about 20 minutes, and they're going to share their experience in pursuing age-friendly communities. And that's going to include some examples and information on what's working well and what positive experiences they've had, some of the challenges that they've had and how they were overcome, and what their plans are for moving forward. So I'll just check in now and just see how our things are going with our first presenter, Bernice Lynn. Bernice, are you there?
Bernice has dropped off, and we'll just wait until she joins.
They're just trying to call back in again and try and get rid of the feedback?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I just really appreciate everyone's patience as we do this. When we're doing webinars and presenters are off-site and phoning in from different places, sometimes we have some challenges with the technology. But I am confident that they will get this up and going in just a moment. So again, if folks are interested in more information about the community of practice and how it can maybe support you in information that you need and connections to help you and your community pursue age-friendly initiatives, whether it's a formal plan or just individual initiatives, we'd be happy to hear from you, and also just to hear about what you're doing in your communities. We will see if Hugh and Crystal are ready to go, and they can maybe start us off. And then when Bernice is able to join us again, we can have her do her presentation second. So Hugh and Crystal, are you able and ready to go forward?
Well, we think we are.
I think you are too. So what I'm going to do is let me just find your slides here. We'll just jump forward. If nothing else, we can improvise and be flexible. So we just want to, keep things moving. There we are. And so now everyone can see what you look like. And welcome from Chile, Saskatchewan. And just thank you so much for taking the time to come and share your experience with us here in Alberta, and what it's been like for you pursuing age-friendly, and how that is going for you. So I will turn things over to Hugh and to Crystal to share about Rosetown.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol. So thank you guys very much for allowing us to participate in this. We're very excited as to just the difference between Alberta and Saskatchewan as well, too, because the age-friendly movement within Saskatchewan is rural-based. We don't have, like, Saskatoon has a bit of a program going, but they're not designated age-friendly. But the rest of all the other communities are rural. And when we talk rural, we're talking under 5,000 people, population base. So if you want to go to our first slide. Sorry. You're multi-purposing, yeah. Okay, so you can go to the next one. So we'll get right into it. Okay, so just for the people who don't know where Rosetown is, because, you know, it's such a hotbed of the universe and whatnot, we think so. We are actually located approximately 100 kilometers southwest of Saskatoon. And even though it's a community of only about 2,600 people, it actually serves as a hub for the smaller surrounding communities, since we do have all the basic health and emergency services and whatnot within so a lot of the smaller towns come to our community. You can continue. Next slide. So once again, we have full recreational facilities. We have a lot to offer our communities, but it comes also with, we have very aging infrastructure within our town. We also have a number of accessibility issues that come with that aging infrastructure, which is what we're dealing with a lot with our work with the age-friendly. But a plus is that we have really great people and lots of volunteers and people that are always helping us out. So next slide. We'll try to get through this boring stuff first here. So like I said, we're a hub. We have our intersection on 2 major highways. So we do have a lot of people who pass through as well too, and we want it to be friendly and accessible for them too. Doesn't matter where you're from, we want it to be an age-friendly community. We have a lot of Hutterite populations within 20 miles. We have 6 Hutterite colonies within 20 miles, but we also have a growing population of newcomers, and this isn't something some of our small towns are really set up for in support services and whatnot. So those are kind of issues that we're dealing with as well too. So next slide, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what we're doing with age-friendly. Okay, just as a preamble, I guess, is since we're from Saskatchewan and our system for age-friendly is considerably different than it's run in Alberta. Ours is headed up through the Saskatchewan Seniors Mechanism, and that